Right, I'm going to do a little movie. I should actually be watching San Andreas on Blu-ray right now, but I'm not, because I picked up what must be the worst manufactured optical disc since I first started buying CDs in the 80s. And after it freezing a dozen times during clips of pan that they shove down your throat, which I also hear is rubbish, unless of course they intended the film to freeze like that, which is why everybody says it's rubbish. But eventually you get to a menu where you don't get any options after 20 minutes of freeze framing pan, which is rubbish anyway. Anyway, enough of me ranting about people shoving things you don't want down your throat and selling faulty goods. I'm in a rather bizarre situation right now. I'm not too sure of 3 or 4 things, and I have a suspicion of 3 or 4 things. There's some things I'm in the dark about I shouldn't be, and I'm having a series of difficulties, let's say, for now. Anyway, it would almost seem like some of my enemies may have the upper hand. Well, they think they have the upper hand. The trouble is, you never really want to worry about what you think I'm doing. When I'm not in your face complaining, you need to worry about the half a dozen things I'm working on and the other dozen things I have up my sleeve. Now, I've been deliberately inactive of late, and I started off slowing down some time ago. There's always this process where you have to allow people to gradually sink down into a false sense of security. Now, each time you do this, it takes a bit longer each time. Now, some strange things have happened, and several things I'm in the dark over, which is kind of annoying and stressful. And the support I should get is actually quite the opposite, but more on that at a later date. So for now, what I'm going to do is finally show you something in this video instead of that chocolate furry lining. And what I'm going to show you is this. Now, I've been in the dark about certain things, and I have several health issues, and I have a new one I didn't expect to acquire. Not much in the way of symptoms really, but it's dangerous. In fact, what I'm about to talk about, I get affected at both ends of the scale, and the drugs I've been given 5 or 6 times now are not only not doing the job properly, they're actually bringing on one of the extremes to the point that it's dangerous. And now I'm going to explain what that is. And as I do so, I am going to flick through the memory of this device. Now, this is a blood pressure monitor, and my blood pressure has been surprisingly reading high for the past 12 months. Dangerously high, in fact, according to the readings. If you look up the blood pressure readings, what they're supposed to be, both high and low, it might be a good idea to pause this video now and go off and write down the numbers. Now, I think a certain health service started to get into a full sense of security, so much so that I may be suffering via orders. Oh, now that I didn't want to happen. That's very annoying. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure I'm not being given the correct drugs. In fact, I've been put on Ramipril 3 times when it's already long since proved that it's actually making one of the effects of my blood pressure worse. Now I'll quickly explain what that is. You know, a blood pressure should be about, well, for a Caucasian, about 115, you know, 120 over, I don't know, 80 or 90, something like that. If it goes above 140, it's hypertension. If it goes above 160, it's stage 2 hypertension. If it reaches or goes above 180, it says go straight to hospital. But my blood pressure also drops too low as well, and that's a bit unusual. And it's when it drops low I get what must be my only symptom, and that symptom is unconsciousness, or very close to being unconscious. So what I'm going to do now is switch this on. Ooh, make sure that's readable. Now that's an average, but that's gone down of late because it's taken me a long time to get the low pressure readings, which was the only reason this thing was bought. I don't always remember to take the readings, but I do take them. I don't take them exercising, or while exercising, or immediately after exercising. I always take these, mostly 99 times out sitting down. Now that's an average reading, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start running through them. So there's 133 over 64, 137 over 99. These, I think these are going backwards. 80 over 47, or maybe not. 120 87, 117 73. Right, 107 59, and 82 46, 69 48. That's pretty low. That was close to being unconscious, that last reading. 129, 152, 165, and you can see here it's going up, and every now and then it drops back down, but it's going up. None of this is during exercising or anything like that. You can see it's constantly sort of in the highs, and don't forget I've been taking Ramipril for several weeks. The low readings were got from when I stand up from a bending or crouching position. My blood pressure drops like crazy, to the point where I can collapse on the floor. Now as you can see, these readings are high, and as you can see there, that's 188 over 114. Anything over 180 is supposed to go to the hospital. Anything on the systolic, on the diastolic, anything above 110, you're supposed to go to hospital. I'm not so keen on going to hospital. My attitude is, well, here's the device, those are the readings, give me the right drugs. And they don't. But the other part of this is, there are things that make this worse. And there are things that can make it worse that can be particularly dangerous. Now, being extremely stressed out, which I haven't been in a long time, will raise my blood pressure to the point where it gets higher than that. But the low ones come from, and don't forget I have another condition that causes memory problems, I don't eat for periods of a time. Now what I've realised is, I've always had the blackouts. The postural hypertension thing, I've had it for 20 years. It's only lately they actually decided to tell me what it was. and I realised that it's a drop in blood pressure when I stand up, and it drops far too much. Alright, my doctor got higher readings than that, and he said it was dropping far too much. And I didn't pass out or black out on any of these readings, so you know, my blood pressure has dropped lower than the lowest you've seen on here, because a blackout completely falling over would be lower than the lowest one. That was sort of half conscious, sort of stumbling about the low readings on this one. I missed two serious ones when I nearly collapsed on the floor, and even they weren't the worst ones I've ever had. But the point is, this may be the very thing that killed both my father and my grandmother. It was heart related in both of them. Aneurysm in my father, weak heart, failed heart in my grandmother. I'm the first one in the family that has actually started to look into these ailments, and I discovered I had fibromyalgia, and that was later confirmed at Guy's Hospital. But then I discovered the blood pressure problem. And the two things I shouldn't really do is overdo it and get stressed out, or not eat for long periods of time. So here's how it works. Manoeuvrings have been going on that they think I don't know about to mess around with my status quo, you could say. The only thing is, if you mess about with my status quo, you can affect not only this condition I have, but I have the unusual case of being both too high and too low with blood pressure, stressing me out, causing me to wait instead of eating because you're too busy doing something else, is actually dangerous for me. You know, stressing me out, getting clever, not being supportive, argumentative and things like that. You know, that's not a good idea either. Now, everybody knows this, but there are manoeuvrings going on in the background that are not very good. And I'm afraid you didn't think about what it was I was up to while you were manoeuvring around. Making any plans to do anything against me, slow me down, make me look like I'm something I'm not, put the brakes on a situation, put wedges in situations, and I'm afraid all you're doing is bringing about a possible untimely death. So if you thought you were being clever, I'm afraid, as Basil Fawlty once said, the game is up. Because you should have paid attention to what I've been saying. Voila.